and welcome everyone. So today I'm going to start by just sharing my screen with a few notes to get started. I want to welcome everybody from Indianapolis, of course, but also from at least 10 other states. People are joining from a lot of different areas, which is great. That's one of the real benefits we've had in having these virtual sessions after having a couple of years of nothing but in-person sessions. So I'm glad to introduce you to the Indianapolis chapter of Conscious Capitalism. You see our purpose on the screen. We help Indianapolis companies discover, embrace, and embed the principles of conscious capitalism. And we're very proud of that purpose. We're also very proud of our champions. These are people that financially contribute. You see their logos at the bottom of the screen. And of course, if anybody has a business and they want to be part of that group, we would certainly welcome that. Today, we're going to present what is now part 3 of a series of events that we've kind of put around the theme of healing. We all know that 2020 has been a pretty tough year for all of us. But we want to try to look at the positive perspective. We want to be able to look back on this year and learn maybe some of the ways that we have grown, some of the ways that it may have helped our businesses, challenged us, made us better. And so that's been the theme of some of the sessions we've had. So we started in August by having Raj Sisodia, who has authored several books, including Conscious Capitalism and the Healing Organization. And as part of that, we even had a book club that met 3 times to talk about the book. Then in September, Kim Graham-Lee, who's with us today, presented a session on unconscious bias. And today we have our guests I'll introduce in just a moment. And then in November, we'll have a panel discussion on justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, very hot issues. Every company is trying to figure out what's right for them and how they handle those issues. And then in December, we'll end with kind of an uplifting way of looking towards 2021. So with that, let's move right into our session for today. I'm going to introduce to you a very interesting man, Safwan Shah. He's the founder and CEO of PayActiv, but I want to tell you a little bit more about him. He is an engineer by education. He is a fintech expert by experience. And he likes to say an entrepreneur by accident. And we're going to hear about those accidents. He's been either interviewed or featured on NPR, in the New York Times, and the Wall Street Journal. He's an author of a book, It's About Time. You're going to learn a lot about that. And one of the things I know that he's proud of is was recognized by his university, University of Colorado Boulder, with the George Norland Award. Now, this isn't because he gave a lot of money or whatever. I don't know, maybe you did, but it's really an award centered on success, but specifically focused on success for the betterment of society, which is really along the lines of conscious capitalism. And he is a true believer in this movement, and he's going to tell you more about it. So with that, Safwan, I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll turn it over to you to tell your story and tell us about your business and tell us about your thoughts on conscious capitalism.
Well, thank you so much, Pat, and my apologies for being tardy. I was in the Zoom meeting since, 8:45 here, but I just couldn't get in, my mistake, so I apologize for that. Just to make sure that we do a time check, Pat, it's 9:13 here, so it's 12:13. I want to be respectful to to the attendees and their schedules. So we're going for about 30 minutes, you think?
Yes, I think that sounds perfect. That'll give us the time so that people can ask some questions. And if you have questions along the way, include it in the chat and we'll answer as many as we can.
Yes. So the thought that what I thought I would do, and I see a lot of faces. So you can, just to tell you, I see this gallery of faces here. I don't know many of you, but I'm deeply grateful and honored and privileged to be talking to you. I'm sitting right now in California. I'm exactly 1.5 miles from Apple headquarters, which people in California believe is the center of the universe, but they're usually wrong. And there's no smoke outside, and what I thought I'd do is, for me, the journey of conscious capitalism, the journey of as an entrepreneur, as a journey as an immigrant even, has been full of amazing experiences. And what I thought I'd do today is to spend this 30 minutes to first tell you a story. And it will be a 10-minute or 11-minute long story. Then I'll share with you a few slides, which will summarize the journey. And all that, underneath that, you should see connections with conscious capitalism. I myself did not know conscious capitalism until I met Raj Sisodia 3.5, 4 years ago in a hotel lobby in San Francisco. And I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what he did. But I knew that there was this thing called conscious capitalism, but I didn't know anything. And he encouraged me to go and speak at the CEO Summit in Austin, Texas. And I spoke there. And when I got off the stage 20 minutes later, a lot of wonderful people approached me, and they couldn't believe that what I was doing, and they were very enthused, and the validation was incredible. And then from that point onward, I have been deeply engaged. And last year, I became a board member of Conscious Capitalism, and it is my pride and joy to be talking to you, to be sharing my journey, and hopefully, it will give you some framework, some insight to think, because I came from left field, and I found this, I would even say it was my calling, and it is my privilege to be talking to you. So starting with that. So now I'll spend a few minutes reading this little tale that I'm going to share with you. And I'm going to read it. I'm no expert, but I'll read it. So please listen to me or hear me. And hopefully, if you can't hear me, just make your, somehow convey that. I don't know how I'll know if on this Zoom paradigm. So my first job as an engineer was to oversee a production line where hundreds of workers assembled car stereos. I was new, young, and fresh out of college. The plant manager was a wonderful man who had only one goal: keep the line moving. Workers would go to him with little problems and issues, like, I need a few hours, or I need to call someone, and so on. The manager was always very understanding. One day, I overheard a very difficult conversation. The worker's request was simple. It's the 17th. May I please have 10 days pay now, and you can deduct it from my paycheck at the end of the month when we all get paid. Fair enough, I thought. She had already earned the money she was asking for. Yet, the response from the usually polite manager was harsh. He said, no, you need to take control of your life and manage your money better. I'm not a lender. The worker turned and walked back sheepishly with embarrassment. As she passed by me, she said something that I can never forget. But they do owe me the money. Now I'll have to take a loan from someone else while I wait for them to pay me. This struck me for a couple of reasons. First, this manager, whose only goal was to keep the production line moving, sabotaged himself. How productive will she be after he shamed her? Second, I couldn't stop thinking about that one sentence, but they do owe me the money. And it made me wonder, why do employees have to wait a month to get paid? Over the next few years, decades, I moved to America. I went to grad school, worked in the Silicon Valley tech industry, and happily retired. Free to think, golf, and wonder what to do next. And then the economic crisis of 2009 hit. And the news was full of stories about families losing homes, defaults and bailouts of companies that were too big to fail, and lines at food bank. And once again, I started thinking of my job on the production line. So I set out to answer the question, why do employees wait a month to get paid? In a world where the history of recorded music is available on demand, and Amazon can dispatch a drone in seconds to bring anything to your house in hours. Why must workers wait 2 weeks to get access to their own money? And make no mistake, it is the employee's money. The employee has done the work. The employer has received the work, but is still holding on to the wages. Why is it this way? Landlords get paid in advance. Vendors get paid upon delivery of goods and services or set terms. Customers pay us instantly. Imagine walking into Starbucks and saying, I want a cup of coffee, I'll pay you in 2 weeks. They'd laugh you out of the store. But ironically, that's what most employees around the world are expected to do: work and then wait 2 weeks to get paid. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking charity here. I understand why employees shouldn't be paid in advance, but why don't they have the option to get wages they have already earned? The common answer is inertia. That's the way it's always been, and most companies don't even realize there's a problem. The real answer is that there are two glaring blind spots that we as a society have missed entirely. And the first blind spot is related to employees. We fail to recognize that a 2-week delay from work to pay has staggering costs. While waiting to get paid, workers are accruing various fees and penalties like overdrafts, late fees, and they are turning to high interest options like payday loans, title loans, which trap them in a debt cycle. The fees and penalties aggregated together in the United States are $200 billion every year. Think about that. $200 billion wasted while employees wait for employers to pay them for the hours they've already worked. Lower income hourly workers, who we now call essential workers, the ones who clean buildings, push wheelchairs at hospitals, answer our calls when we complain, deliver packages, take care of the elderly, these 100 million Americans that keep the lights on and the economy humming. They are paid by the hour, and these fees take up to 10% of their entire income year after year. The irony is that they usually have earned the money to avoid the penalties, and the money is just stuck in an old-fashioned mechanical batch payroll system, waiting until payday. And then instead of realizing this is a problem that we as a society could have created, we judge them and we say, you can't get it together. You're so irresponsible with your money. It's cruel. We hold low-wage workers to a higher standard than anyone else in America. The second blind spot relates to employers and businesses. All the stress that I just talked about, the cost of waiting to get paid has a massive emotional and mental toll on employees. It reduces productivity and increases turnover. Employees may be physically present but mentally absent from the job because they're anxious about how to pay an outstanding bill. In fact, studies have found that employees who are acutely stressed will waste up to 20 hours of work per month. In other words, the company's choice of waiting to pay employees is causing them financial stress, which in turn has a cost, $300 billion every year. So if both employers and employees are losing, why hasn't anyone done anything about it? And how would I, an engineer, be able to do anything? 20 years ago, you could have said it was a technological limitation. Businesses need 2 weeks to account for and process payroll, but that's not true anymore. Undeterred by this monumental challenge, let me now share how I actually went about eliminating this costly blind spot and how doing so can possibly improve and change the world. The approach was simple. We created a tech platform to make this possible, and I went directly to employers to explain to them that they would benefit if they let their employees access their wages, earned wages, faster and on demand. My company's technology would basically calculate how much any worker had earned at any point in time and let them access the money instantly, not a loan. It's their already earned wages. The employer would then reimburse my company on a regular payday. So this was how we did it. And let me share with you one kind of story that I can never forget, or an incident in my life. On one occasion, I went to a factory where thousands of workers were employed. while driving up, I stopped for coffee and noticed at least a dozen payday lenders in that same zip code. I looked closely at the people lined up to take out payday loans, and the message on the windows was very welcoming. One store even had the name of the company that I was about to visit. We welcome employees of, ABC company. I immediately knew what I had to say to the owner. I was kind of stressed. I was going to meet the CEO. So I walked in to the meeting, and after the usual exchange of pleasantries, I remarked, there are a number of payday lenders in the neighborhood. The CEO laughed and said, yes, they have grown in the last few years as we have expanded operations. I don't know how to get rid of them. It is devastating on my employees. They are stressed and distracted. I responded, do you realize that payday lenders only exist because of the payroll cycle? A payday loan is a function of payroll, your company's payroll cycle. A payday lender charges employees up to 500% interest rate on the work they've already completed, but not yet been paid for. There was a stunned silence. This was like a huge, booming, tall man, the CEO, and he turned red and said, are you saying that because we pay wages bi-monthly, they take out payday loans? Are you saying that we are the reason? I gulped. I was actually scared. But before I could say anything more, he relaxed and remarked, okay, what can we do to let our employees get their wages faster? My answer was simple. If they've earned it and they need it, let them access it. As Moses said in the Bible, Deuteronomy 24:15, pay them their wages each day before sunset because they are poor and counting on it. I just blurted it out. He signed the contract and went on to say, in a year, I'm going to measure how this has lifted morale and engagement. And if my employees are even better off with this success, I was enthused and inspired. This was 6 years ago. Once employers understood that the 2-week pay cycle didn't work for everyone, the CEOs were willing to act decisively. In a few bi-weekly pay cycles, thousands of his employees were accessing small amounts, 100 here, 200 there, as needed. And that amount was deducted from their final paycheck, and the employer reimbursed us. Surveys showed that the employees used the money to avoid late fees and overdraft, buy groceries and pay bills. And that was astounding. And one of the astounding things was that they never took more than half of what was available to them. If they had $200 accessible, they took less than half of that. Today, we have tons of data. And researchers at Harvard Kennedy School even found that it reduced turnover, helped recruitment, and it reduced turnover by almost 20% at least. And I'm proud to say that we've helped over 1,000 businesses implement this system across the United States, Walmart and Wayfair to name a few. In Indiana alone, very global, American Senior Care, thousands of people in Indiana are using this service. Millions of dollars move every month in their hands and come back into the economy. It creates a virtuous circle. The employee benefits by having less stress, and the employer benefits by having less turnover and an engaged workforce. In a system, it's a system where everyone wins. How often does that happen? Implemented globally, it could change economies. In countries where payroll is monthly, like many countries of the world, the impact will be greater. Low-wage workers can finally use their own wages to pay bills and avoid penalties. They'd be freed from this cycle of high-interest payments, overdrafts, predatory loans. Instead of turning a faucet of money on and off every 2 weeks, money can flow continuously. Any economist will tell you that's a good thing. Trade benefits everyone. The message is clear. When money moves faster, everyone benefits. So, what if every business in this entire world made this simple change that costs them nothing? If they've earned it and they need it, let them access it. Thank you. That's my story. So I thought I'd do this in this way, not because I have any expertise, but because I think it makes it concise. It's a lifelong journey. And most great journeys happen without you knowing that you're on that journey. We call those things purpose or passion. I like to use the word purpose. I didn't know this is what I'll end up doing in my life. And I will find my raison, my reason for existence. So this is what I do. And a few years ago, I was told that this was the greatest example of conscious capitalism. I did not set out with any goal or agenda or anything. I just said in my country, 2/3 of my fellow countrymen are living paycheck to paycheck. Why? I ask every business to ask this question, why? We have built great businesses. We have $4 trillion companies. Why? Why are there payday lenders on the street where I have my business? Why? And what can I do about it? Hence, that's how I think. So excuse my passion and emotion about this. But hey, I was telling somebody earlier that to me, this is personal. And hence, when I discovered I was a conscious capitalist, I said, I better start studying about it. And I went from the Austrian economists to everything under the sun, because that's the only way I know how to learn. Just read about it, understand it, the theory of business, the nature of business, et cetera, et cetera. And I came to this profound sort of realization that not only am I a capitalist, but I think capitalism is the only way we can solve some of these problems. And so that's a bit of an intro. And what I'll do next is I'll take you through a few slides, just so that you see my point of view in perhaps more conventional ways. So let's see, how do we share things here? You may think that I don't know how to use Zoom, but I assure you I spend 18 hours a day. My intimate relationship with Zoom is astounding. I touch it, feel it, love it, talk to it every single day. It's almost like I'm caught in this space warp, and that's all I have. I'm like, the Hilary Swank movie. I'm in this space somewhere, and there's this screen, and I'm away, talking to the world. God, I hope you guys can all. Okay, so where am I? Let's find this PowerPoint. So I always like to think I'm kind of basic in this way. I say, what's my purpose statement? That's my purpose statement. It is outrageous. It is big. It is crazy, but that's what it should be. I'll never get there, but I will keep trying. And I'm not going to judge who is there, who's next, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all, life is really about luck. And so many people are lucky, so many are not, but that's okay. My job is to alleviate financial stress for millions of hardworking Americans with dignity. No one should have to say with embarrassment, but I earned the money. So this is how I think about it. Conscious capitalism is my compass. And it had very humble beginnings. And I wanted to share this with you because 7 years ago, I was looking for one business to deploy this capability that we had built. And there was this friend of mine who I called in Trenton, New Jersey. He had a construction factory, and he had 300-400 people in it. And they used to build pre-stressed concrete slabs. And I said to him that, listen, I want to come to your factory and do you give advances to your employees? And he says, yes. So I said, okay, would you take this service that I've built? He said, I'll do it for friendship. And also because I have this, $200,000 Mercedes that I drive, and I put cash in the trunk and bring it to the office on payday to give cash to my employees because they're financially stressed, or I've always got $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 in my car because I have to give advances to my employees. Because Trenton, New Jersey is an interesting place. So I said to him, okay. So we went to the factory, and he had a payroll system, a time and attendance system. And this was this very dusty place. And I said, okay, we're going to deploy it. Anytime your employee needs to know how much they've already earned, It's just like, you look at a stock ticker or something or score. They'd see, okay, I've earned $100 today. On the second day, I've earned 100 plus 100, 200. So employees would see it on a mobile app and they can just click a button and the money will go to their bank account. I went to that office, to his factory, and asked them the question that this is what we'll do. They all looked and they were smiling until I told them it will go to your bank account. And they said, but we don't have a bank account. What? You don't have a bank account? No. It's expensive to have a bank account. It costs $7 a month if your balance is below $1,500. And they didn't know that there are credit unions that could do it. But these are people who are living. They are us. They are around us. So I said, okay, now what will we do? How can we get the money in their hands? I can't become a cash supplier. So here it is. This is a real picture of that factory. We called it My Mo, My Money. That was its name in 2013. And we put this $1,500 cash dispenser in this dusty factory with a touch screen. I don't know how you take this or how you'll process this information, but the focus should be on the solution and the benefit. How we get there is secondary. And we see so many problems around us. So this is what we built. It was an Acer touchscreen computer slapped on a piece of metal and a little $500 dispenser in it. We wrote the software. The person would come in and click, 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 and boom, money would come out. And we asked Loomis and armored car vendors that, would you fill this machine? They said, hell no. Our guard will go there and there's no security. And I said to those people in the factory, this is yours. It will always have $10,000 in it. We never had a penny lost. Till today, we have 40 of these machines all over the country, although we've ended this practice because now Walmart locations are a pickup point for cash. For those people who need money at 2 a.m. and don't have a bank account. 10 million Americans don't have a bank account. Okay, so this is what it was. Small factory in Trenton, New Jersey. This is what we've become. Everybody talks about us, writes about us, says that you created a category. It's called, given a name, earned wage access. You've spent millions and you've raised millions, and so it's kind of joyful for me. I laugh. What a privilege, what an opportunity, what an honor to go from here to here. And whether we survive to be the standard of the world, I don't know. But every worker in this world should get what they've earned. And when they want it, as long as they've earned it. This 2-week pay cycle is an artifact of tradition. It has no basis in modern society. This is 2020. The journey continues. There's a book. I wrote a book, kind of, it has the stories and it's about time. It's a double entendre, right? It's about time. We take time and make it into money. So it's about time, and it's about time we did something about it. So that's the meaning. It's out there, and if you want, you can send me an email. I'll send you a copy, and if you want to buy it, you can. But it won't win awards, but it says what I feel. We made a movie. We made several movies. About in August, we launched a 2-minute animation, and in about a week, a couple of million people had seen it. So we are no sort of TikTok artists, but that was pretty cool. I thought I'd share with you that 2-minute movie, and Pat, with your permission, I will play it.
Sure.
It's about 2 minutes, and it's by the way, if I'll just tell you something. All of you know the word robot, right? And you know what it means. Anyone here who knows what the word robot means? 1, 2, 3, gone. 1921, a Czech playwright invented the word robot. It means forced labor. This is a story of a robot called Robbie. And I will play it in a second. Just give me. On YouTube, it is called We Heard You. And I'm going to stop this share, and I'm going to share my YouTube. Where did it go? Okay. Okay, and I'm going to share this in a moment. I have to just make sure you don't see an ad. Okay. Sorry. You have to make sure the sound comes, so I'm just making sure. Do you see a full screen? You see it, right?
Yes, we do.
And can you hear? Okay.
Yes.
Hello, Robbie. We heard you. You are essential.
Thank you. Over and out.
All right. Thank you. So I think I've seen a couple questions come in. One, I think is obvious, but by now is, does PayActiv still exist? It does, right? What is the situation? Maybe just tell us a little bit about this year. How has COVID affected how your business is operated, and give us a little update on the business.
Yeah. So this year has been pretty amazing. I say it without, when on March 16th, I walked out of the office and there was a lockdown. I called my board meeting and I asked them that, would you permit me to give liquidity to everyone for free. Now they know that they've invested in a company which is a B Corp. We've been a B Corp for 5 years. We became a public benefit company a year ago. So my board looked at me, and my board has SoftBank and major people. And this tells you the caliber and the compassion and the kind of people who are around me. And they said, yes, Safwan, what will it cost? And I said, we probably move over $100 million every month and serve a few million people. And sometimes they pay $1 or $2, or that's what we'll not get. And they said, go for it. March 16th, we went free across the country. And I say free. Anyone could access their earnings, no questions asked. We saw thousands and thousands and thousands of people lose their jobs. The entire restaurant industry was eviscerated, it still is. Salons that we serve, because I made it a point that I'm here to serve the lower income worker. I do not see the world as enterprise and SMB and all that, right? I defy all laws of gravity. That we are here to serve the worker. The worker can work for the 3-person company, and there are hundreds of thousands of small companies in America. So we had all these businesses, and we moved a lot of money. I think we moved several $100 million. I think a few $1 million we didn't get as fees, but we opened a foundation, and Visa and Uber and everyone, all our partners stepped up. And the foundation was able to raise $5 million in a matter of days. We took calls from users, and if they said we want $100, $200, I know it sounds crazy. Some of you will say it's not even business. It is a business, let me assure you. It's a bloody good business. And even then, we survived. And on June 1st, we imposed, and we won businesses, Mercy Hospital, Wayfair, all these people went live in the pandemic. Companies are going live with us because they have finally understood. I don't have to be evangelical anymore. I want to just sit back and watch. So, Pat, America discovered essential workers. That's what happened. Businesses discovered their purpose. It is to build and build communities, and everyone's doing their part, let me assure you. It's just a hard situation we are in. So that happened. Then in July, we announced a $100 million funding round right in the pandemic. And today, we are scaling, we are growing, we're building a great American company. That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
There's no end to it.
Yeah, that's great. So you mentioned, it sounds like there's been, that you tracked some data, you've had some studies. There was a question about, have you been able to measure some of the impact on their consumer spending and as a result of the service? And I'll add on to that, because one of the things that stood out to me was you said that when they withdrew money, it was always less than half of what was in there. And I wondered if that surprised you.
It did surprise me, because conventional wisdom, you know what conventional wisdom says, that they are going to take all their money and then they'll ask for more. There is this ingrained paternalism that we live with, right? And but that's not the case. Sorry to report that. I was surprised. I was stunned. Everyone still believes that. So given that we run Walmart data, I'm privy to it. We're talking the world's largest employer, right? Walmart is the world's largest employer, world's. And it is astounding. 3 questions that you ask. What do they do with the money? A, they get their own money, so they don't get into debt. Secondly, they avoid an overdraft, which is usually $35. Thirdly, they don't have to go and borrow money from someone else, reduce their self-esteem, et cetera, et cetera. So there are 2 types of effects. If I measure, there is a measured effect and there's a psychological effect. Let's put the psychological effect aside, because we're businessmen. Let's look at the measured effect. Each time you access money in a timely way, you are most likely avoiding a $25 to $35 penalty. Overdraft, late fee, these things are like that. We calculated it in consultation with our employer partners. It turns out that every time you use it, you're technically saving somewhere between $20 to $30. That's one thing. So if the 1 million people using it, that's $240, $250 million saved. So this is pretty amazing, right? Because there are $200 billion paid as fees. I told you that earlier. Each person is losing $200 a month to these penalties and dings. So if you're making $3,000 a month, $2,500 a month, and you're losing $200, that's 7 to 10% of your wages. We, a small company, is actually giving a stimulus to the economy, because now you don't have to pay the $200 and you can use the money towards something else. So that's one thing that has been measured, $25 to $30. Second thing is the Harvard Kennedy study started it, and many companies have now done it, that there is a 20 to 30% reduction in turnover, which is very important in 2019. Now everybody says, I don't care about turnover. Now guess what it turned out to become now? Recruitment. How to get people to be recruited in, let's say, a grocery store so that they don't become delivery persons for Grubhub. Because in Grubhub, they get paid every day. They're gig workers, they're contracted workers. In a retail environment, they're salaried workers and they get paid every 2 weeks. So it's a recruitment thing. And now, of course, a lot of people are talking about engagement. So measured effect, 20 to 30% reduction in turnover, some cases 40, 50%. Direct savings to the employee. And the third thing you asked is, what do they do with the money? So now we have our own Visa card. So when they take the money, we made the service free. You don't have to pay anything to get your wages. You take $100, you don't pay anything. It's your money. We calculate you available, you get it, you load it on a Visa card. That Visa card you go and use somewhere, so we know where they use it, because we make money on the Visa card. It's from the back end. So when we did that, we started seeing what they do. And because the Visa, the processors, all that give you data. Number one, grocery store. Gas station, because it has a convenience store. Now you could argue, oh, they must be using it for something that they shouldn't buy. I don't care. It's their money. How would you like somebody telling you, you can't use your money to what you buy? So it's their money. If they're poor, doesn't mean that I have a right to judge them. So it's that kind. So in every which way, we've been tracking it. Very proud and pleased to report to you that it's working. It's good. It has a measured effect. It has a psychological effect.
Excellent. So we've got a couple other questions. I think I'll bring another voice in here because Kim, you put a nice long question. So how about you unmute and I'll let you ask it.
Yeah, Safwan, thank you so much. This has just been so eye-opening. I run a small business here in Indianapolis, and I was taking this further. Like, one of the reasons employees aren't paid, especially in a small business, is that bigger companies aren't paying the smaller businesses. And even not that I'm going to name anyone by name, but one of your partners is notorious slow on paying us. What are the implications for changing these payment portals and these big global behemoths? And I mean, it took everything in me to get them to change their payment terms from 60 days to 30 days even. There's this ripple effect from that standpoint of the big companies and their processes on payment, which impact the mid-market, smaller companies, and then their abilities to pay the individual employee.
Yeah, this inherent delay in payments, what you're talking about is supply chain financing type service.
Right.
Usually banks will step up and provide the service. We have been asked by many, many, many companies that would we consider waiting 30 to 60 days? Basically, we assume the payroll. This is not just your problem. It is many small businesses. So we are in the process of figuring out how to do it for many businesses. There are now a few clients who pay us 28 days later. Now, in that case, and sorry for being a little technical, in that case, we become a lender to the business. It's a natural outgrowth of what we are doing, because many businesses say that I'm going to pay my employee. You have to, because you have to pay them every month and every 2 weeks or whatever. But I don't have the money to pay them, so PayActiv, you pay them. But I can't pay them because they're not my employees, so I become a lender to the business. So I'm happy to have a further discussion on it if you like. We are building this kind of capability in the company. We have been approached several times, but I understand your dilemma and challenge.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. No, I've just enjoyed this so much. Thank you.
Another question, and this I think gets to the point of just if businesses changed, if they decided to change the way they pay people, would that put you out of business? Maybe that's your goal.
If they do a good job. I mean, if IBM had done what Amazon did, then Amazon wouldn't have been born. And if Netflix, if Comcast or HBO did what Netflix did. So yeah, we think about those things. And it's not only at the employer level. Many small businesses wouldn't do this because the technology is required, the payment systems and all that. The second thing is that payroll companies could do it. And technically we won't be needed. Yeah, it could happen. But I'm going to not do it because they'll take another 100 years to do it. I'm not going to wait. It's an existential challenge, but I'm not afraid of them. They're too slow. And they don't really care of the end user.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're glad you do care, and we're glad that we're glad you joined us today. This has been fascinating. I think in conscious capitalism, there's so many businesses that do good work and they give back to the communities and so forth. But I'm always fascinated by a business that, at its core, is all about the principles that conscious capitalism represents. So again, thank you for what you do, and thank you for joining us today.
No, thank you very much. And I don't know all of you, but I think Tom Brady is there. I see a name, Tom Brady. So Tom, thank you for attending.
Okay, well, I'm going to share my screen once more just to mention our next event and sign off. So November 6th will be our next event, and we'll be sending out information, or you can monitor LinkedIn and Facebook to find the registration, which will be up on our website. But we're calling it the Way of the Jedi. So some of you may be familiar with that term that stands for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. This year, of course, this issue has risen to the top of everybody's radar. And so many businesses are really trying to figure out what is our role, what should we be doing around this issue. And so what we're going to do is we're going to invite several local businesses that have taken action, that have put somebody in charge of this, so that we can hear what they're doing. And hopefully we can take away some insights that we can take to our business. So right now we have representatives from Anthem, from Delta Faucet, and from Car Global joining us to be able to tell us their story and have some Q&A and discussion and talk a little bit more about this. The other thing, just a final note, with that is, once again, I always like to just highlight our champions and say thank you to them, because obviously they help us do what we do. So again, thanks to everybody for joining us today. And once more, Safwan, thanks for joining us and telling us your story.
Thank you very much.
All right, I hope to see everybody on November 6th.
Thank you. Bye-bye.